Hi, and welcome to Best in Tesla. As electricity has become an increasingly important part of modern society, its uses has evolved gradually over the years. Initially, most electricity was generated using fossil fuels such as coal and gas, which has a significant impact on both the environment and public health. Today, however, there is a growing trend towards using renewable energy sources to produce electricity. And EVs are quickly taking over. So that is great, but can the grid handle all of this? Because we hear all the time things like how EVs will kill the grid and you can't fill up your EV if you get stuck on the side of the road. But I think this will change quite dramatically, and I think EVs will be the obvious choice in the near future because firstly, getting stuck on the side of the road is going to be a thing of the past, something you did in your ICE car. But much more than that, the EVs that people think will kill the grid could actually save our grid, or at least help out the grid big time, and Tesla's Robo-taxis might play a big role in this and become an even more valuable asset for Tesla than we initially thought, if that's even possible. So let me tell you why, and let's dive right in. So I have talked about before how many houses getting solar panels and power walls will be taken off the grid and will become their own little virtual power plant together with other houses, as Tesla is already doing in California and South Australia, and other companies as well, not just Tesla. And how charging stations are being built more and more with its own small version of Tesla's grid-size megapacks and solar panels to again not make them part of the original grid but actually take them off the grid. And big battery power plants, as Tesla is building all over the world, will help support the grid as well. So a lot of things are being done to make the grid better and take a lot of things off the grid, just like Apple's whole new Compass is run on 100% renewables. But what about when we will have swapped out all the 2 billion ICE cars that are on the roads today? Won't that be a massive strain on the grid? Sure, if they all charge at the same time, it would be a massive strain on the grid, especially if everything just stayed the same. But as we have talked about before, homeowners 95% of the time charge at home, just as I do. And in the future, when all of the 2 billion ICE cars on the streets are EVs, maybe in 30 or 40 years time, my bet is that most, if not all, houses are now off-grid. And today, about 60% of the US population, for example, lives in houses. So that is about 60% of the population that will basically be off-grid. And apartment buildings can pretty much just do the same thing, just on a bigger scale, as we see many companies are doing as well. And we also have to remember, when we no longer have a big fossil fuel industry anymore, we will also save a lot of energy as well. It's not like the fossil fuel industry does not use electricity. Let's just take one step of the oil industry as an example: refineries. Oil refineries use about 15% of the entire industrial electricity usage in the US. That will also go away. So there is a lot of energy we will save, and this was just one example tied up with the fossil fuel industry that will go away at some point. So there is a lot of savings of electricity to be made, as well as new sustainable ways of helping the grid. And the EVs could easily become part of that. Like if I had solar panels and Tesla Powerwalls on my house, I would only need 2 to 3 Powerwalls to be almost 100% self-sufficient with electricity. But that is only 27 to 40 kilowatt hours of battery usage for my whole family. But out in my garage, I have 75 kilowatt hours of batteries just sitting, being used only 95% of the time. EVs are pretty much just very, very big power banks, and during a normal week we don't use much more than 20% of its capacity, so we have about 80% of those 75 kilowatt hours of batteries rarely being used, only when we go on long drives. So in the future, it is not hard to see cars becoming part of the grid, becoming part of the virtual power plant, because we already today have bi-directional charging like the Ioniq 5, the F-150 Lightning, the electric Silverado, Airways U5, the Cybertruck, and many more. So not hard to see that being a basic feature in EVs in the future, and can become part of the virtual power plant, together with all the houses with power walls or other kind of batteries. And this could also end the anxiety of running out of electricity in your EVs and have to be towed to the nearest charging station, because then everyone would be able to help everyone. You get stuck on the side of the road, well, any other car on the road could help you charge your car, just enough to get you to the next charging station. And remember, right now we are talking about when all cars on the road is electric, so we are probably something like 30 or 40 years out in the future. And with the improvements we see today in battery density, it is not hard to imagine that most EVs will probably be able to run something like 1,000 kilometers on a single charge, probably even more. So that would also mean we will only need to charge up half the amount of batteries to get the same kind of mileage as of today, maybe even better. And the average person only drives about 60 kilometers or 35 miles per day, so most cars will only have to charge up once per week, or maybe even once every 2 weeks. We have to remember, everything will only improve from here on out. But when we are out 30 to 40 years from now, I think most of us can agree that full self-driving will be a thing. And I think they will make a big contribution to help our grid with that many power banks driving around, because we do need to saturate the market a bit with the robo-taxis, because we need a lot of them in the rush hour. So in the morning from 7 to 10 a.m. and in the afternoon from 4 to 7 p.m. But during the day and the evening, we don't need as many cars on the road. So what would these robo-taxis then do? Well, during the day when the sun is high and electricity prices are low, well, it would be a good time to charge up those batteries, maybe even from electricity made free from the sun. And during the evening, when most people are home using a lot of electricity, the robo-taxis could hook up to the grid and help out in local communities and apartment buildings and so on, because there will be a lot of power driving around that is not being used. When all these cars on the roads are EVs, we will have something like 150,000 gigawatt hours of energy stored in vehicles. So enough to power about 15 million people a whole year. The average American uses just over 10,000 kilowatt hours of energy per year. So this is a lot of power we will have driving around. And with clever software like Tesla's Autobeta, we can have AI software controlling all of these robots, when they need to be on the road, when they need to be charging, when they need to be hooked up and help the grid. It would be basically impossible to have an outage like we saw in Texas last year, when there in every driveway and more there is sitting about 75 kilowatt hours of batteries ready to help power the whole community. Combined with every home having a power wall or any kind of batteries, every office building, every apartment building generating its own power from solar panels and storing it in big batteries. So that also means that owning a fleet of robotaxi like Tesla will is going to be worth much more than many people might think, because not only will Tesla earn maybe the $30,000 a year as a robo-taxi, but it could also earn Tesla money as a battery storage device to help out the grid, charging when prices are low and selling it back when prices are high, because that also fits pretty perfectly with the electricity duck curve. Rush hours and electricity demand is not on the exact same time, and all could be controlled by Tesla's great software, making Tesla's full self-driving robotaxis a much bigger asset than initially thought. So even though most analysts that are actually looking at Tesla's robotaxi to value Tesla, well, they are probably aiming too low anyway, because I have not really seen anyone think about Tesla controlling a huge mobile energy storage system that could add significant value to Tesla's robo fleet. But this could also be very far out in the future, so probably longer out than most analysts are willing to look. But always fun thinking about what potentially could happen and what value Tesla might be able to unlock. But what do you think? Will this be something that could actually work, or what am I missing here? And what other things do you see getting off the grid in the future that will also help the grid? Let me know all your crazy futuristic ideas down below. And thank you for watching. And until next time, take care out there and be nice.